Okay, you can hear me, right? Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. So we just read Ezekiel chapter 3. We were looking at the end of Ezekiel chapter 3. And after the Most High had appointed Ezekiel to be a messenger to the people of Israel, to give them warning about their sin and their iniquity, after he had also given him not only the commission to go forth as his messenger, but the message itself. After he warned him both of how difficult it was going to be to deal with his people, and also about the importance of the warning itself in terms of giving it or not giving it and its results. After he did that, Ezekiel was sent forth into the wilderness. He was sent forth into the country, into a desolate area. So let's look at that. Let's read that again as we finished off. Let's read that from Ezekiel chapter 3 from verse 22 to verse 27. And we're going to end up going obviously into chapter 4 today. So Ezekiel chapter 3, from verse 22 to 27. And the Bible records, and the hand of Yahweh was there upon me. And he said unto me, arise, go forth into the plain, and I will there talk with thee. Then I arose and went forth into the plain. And behold, the glory of Yahweh stood there, as the glory which I saw by the river Kabar. And I fell on my face. Then the Spirit entered into me, and set me upon my feet, and spake with me, and said unto me, go, shut thyself within thy house. But thou, O son of man, behold, they shall put bands upon thee, and shall bind thee with them, and thou shalt not go out among them. And I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, and thou shalt be dumb, and shalt not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. But when I speak with thee, I will open thy mouth, and thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, he that heareth, let him hear, he that forbeareth, let him forbear, for they are a rebellious house. These words that we saw where he says, he that heareth, let him hear, he that forbeareth, let him forbear. And again, earlier in the chapter, we saw where he said, verse 11, he said, go and get thee to them of the captivity and to the children of thy people, and speak unto them and tell them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. So that phrase is very familiar as we just studied the book of Revelation. It's just made in a different way in the book of Revelation, but it's a similar phrase, a similar situation where when you read the 7 churches in the book of Revelation, when you read the 7 churches, which start Ephesus, Smyrna, so on and so, Pergamos, Thyatira, so on and so forth. At the end of each church, he will say something like, not at the end of each church, but sometimes he say something like, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches, right? At the end, it does say at the end of each church, he that hath ear to hear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches, right? Then he'll say something like, to him that overcometh. So, and then he says again, and after the 7 churches in Revelation chapter 13, Revelation chapter 13, verse 9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. So it's the same thing that he's telling Ezekiel. In other words, I'm speaking this word. It's the truth. Whether you hear it or not is up to you. That's basically what it is. This word is coming forth from the Most High. Whether you receive it or not is up to you. He's not going to beg you to receive it. See, we live in a situation in our culture, and I've had this happen a few times, where because churches are trying to con people into joining their church. And they do it in different ways. And one of the ways that churches try to con people into joining their church is for the people to not focus on what is being said, but focus on things like if somebody greets you when you walk into the building, how nice they smile at you, how good their fellowship meal is, what and what activities are they doing in the church aside from just preaching and teaching. And so people are used to being catered to in this manner when they go into these buildings, almost like the church is begging them to become a member and please stay because we need you. Well, really, we need your money. And people begin to think that the message of the Most High is like that we have to beg you or coerce you to believe what the truth is. But that's not the case. The Spirit of the Father will bring the truth. His truth will convict the hearts of men and women. In the day of judgment, all the convictions that you and I have received will be brought to our minds and our hearts. So that we'll have no excuse in terms of our sin, because we can't say nobody warned us, because he will bring every motive, every word that was said, every action the Bible says he's going to bring to judgment. And every time you were convicted, it's going to be brought to your remembrance. And he is not trying to beg you. He's trying to show you what the truth is, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to obey the truth. So the Most High sends Ezekiel. He says, he that heareth, let him hear. He that forbear, let him forbear. Whatever it is, it is. Just make sure you speak the word of truth that I give you. Same with Messiah. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit said. So brothers and sisters, it puts the onus obviously on us to decide whether we're going to follow the truth or not. But because, again, of the culture in which we are in, a lot of people make their decision of whether to follow the truth or not, or whether to follow anything based on what other people are doing. They want to know how many others are following this. How many others believe these words or disbelieve them? Does so-and-so believe it? But obviously we have learned from the prophets and from the word that we should make our decisions like that. Our decisions should be made on if the Spirit of the Father is bearing witness with our spirit that what we are hearing is true or not. And no matter how much we like or we respect, or even if we don't like or don't respect the messenger, we have to bear witness, or let the Spirit of the Father bear witness with our spirit whether what we're hearing is true or not. And the conviction will be upon us. Obviously, if it's what we're hearing is true, there'll be a conviction upon us, and we are following that conviction. That's actually what faith is. It's obedience to a conviction. So when the Father sends a messenger to speak his word of truth, the message is attended by the Father's Spirit, and conviction is being doled out. Now, whether people will receive the conviction or not, that's their choice. But the messenger's concern is not how many people are in the seats. That's the concern of those that are con men trying to get money, because the more people they could get, the more money they could get. But the true messenger of the Most High is not concerned with how many people there are. Their only concern is bringing honor and glory to the Father, thereby bringing the message that the Father explicitly told them to bring. Whoever hears it or doesn't hear it, that's up to them. Okay. I've heard of people canceling. They had or scheduled some sort of event in terms of spiritual event, in terms of a sermon or a rally of some sort with the word and cancel it because there's not enough people. See, that shows you somebody that was there to get some money, right? Whereas the true messenger is going to bring forth the message, even if, like Ezekiel did, Ezekiel prophesied to the wind. He prophesied to a valley of dead bones. It doesn't matter who's there. If the messenger is giving a message from the Most High, that message is supposed to be brought forth regardless of the reaction of whoever hears it. So he's telling him that. Also, I want you to notice what he said. He told Ezekiel he's going to have, like, he's not going to be able to talk unless it's time to speak. Remember we just wrote there? Ezekiel 3, he said, I will, in verse 26, I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, and thou shalt be dumb, and thou shalt not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. He's not going to be able to just speak anytime he wants to. The Most High took away his ability to speak, except in times when his spirit came upon Ezekiel and it was compelling him to talk. Then his tongue will be loose and he talked. What example is that to us? Well, it's very obvious, isn't it? You know, brothers and sisters, when I was in the financial sales business, when you're in the sales business, you talk a lot. When you're in the sales business, I guess it's by virtue of having to try to convince many people to buy what your product or service is, you end up talking a lot. But you know what I found out? The guys, the ladies that make the biggest sales, and they had to actually spend a lot of time teaching us this because most people in sales naturally talk a lot. When you want to make a big sale, you got to shut up. Isn't that funny? And it's true. When you want to make a big sale, after you've given your spiel, you got to shut up. Don't say nothing. Because if what you're saying is effective, the person's thinking about what you're saying. And if you say something, you could mess up the thought process and lose the sale. So you got to let it go and let them come to their conclusion. And you make the biggest sale. It's even more so when you're a servant of the Most High and you are called to teach or preach his word. When it's time to teach or preach, obviously, you have to open your mouth. But also, obviously, when you're not called to teach or preach, at times when you're not teaching and preaching, you got to keep your mouth shut. It's like at my job, man. I can't teach and preach at my job. I'm being paid to do a job that has nothing to do with teaching and preaching. Right? So the other day, just to tell you an example, the other day I had went out to the men's room and I walked into the office. And as I walked into the office, a group of my co-workers had been talking and they all stopped and looked at me as soon as I walked in. And I knew that I had come up in the conversation. And they looked at me. I said, okay, what is it? What are y'all talking about? And one of them said, we're thinking about doing a Halloween party. Now, I have never discussed this with them in terms of my beliefs in terms of Halloween, but I guess by my example or whatever, they kind of figured I wouldn't be with it. So they said, "Well, how do you feel about that, Todd? We're thinking about having a Halloween party." And I said, "Listen carefully." I said, "You guys could do whatever you want. That's your business. You do what you want." So then they said, "Well, would you come to the party?" And I said, "No, I won't be coming to the party." And they said, and somebody said, "Well, you have something against Halloween?" I said, "Yeah, I don't. I'm not into Halloween at all." So then somebody said, "Well, can you tell us why you're not into Halloween?" And at that moment, I had to make a decision. I could begin to preach and teach, or not. And at that moment, the Most High led me, and I said, that's personal. And they all kind of looked at each other and started chuckling. I said, but y'all do what you want. But I know I'm not going to be at the Halloween party. That's personal. I left it at that. Because there's some situations where you're going to preach and teach, and there's some situations where you're going to keep your mouth shut. You understand? So that's the situation for all of us. There's a time to talk, and there's a time not to talk. Right? Time to be quiet. Now, I want you to also remember when they arrested the Messiah and they had him on trial, what did he say? When they were accusing him of all different types of things that they said he did, what did he say? What did he say to them? What did he say? Do y'all remember? What did he say? It's easy. You know what he said? He didn't say anything. He was quiet. So that Pilate was, Bible says Pilate marveled because he didn't say anything. And now when you get arrested, they'll tell you you don't have to say anything. Because you'll be speaking against your own self. They could use what you say against you. So the Messiah, when they arrested him, he didn't say anything. They were accusing him of many things, and he didn't say anything. And brothers and sisters, even here on in these forums and these Power Talk and YouTube and things like that, a lot of times people will get on, and you guys have seen, especially some of y'all who have been around this little ministry for many years. People come and they try to say things in order to start a fight, right? Or they'll make accusations, or they'll say some crazy things, and they want a reaction, right? Some of y'all, right? I mean, Bartholomew, y'all know what I'm talking about. They come in and they'll say some of the craziest things, and they want a reaction. And the best thing you could do is say nothing. Don't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Don't say anything. Just be quiet. People come on my YouTube channel and, oh man, they've typed all kind of foolish things. And I just decide the people that act like that I feel like are not sincere, but are just trying to fight or argue and debate, I just don't answer them. I don't have a need to answer everybody that says something to me. Just don't answer. You're not saying anything, period. Sometimes it's good to let people just run their mouth and don't say nothing. So here with Ezekiel, he said, your mouth's going to be shut until I give you my word to speak. When I give you my word to speak, then you're going to speak. He said, I'm not going to let you just run your mouth and be like a constant reprover unto them. No, you're going to be quiet, so that when you're so quiet and they say all of a sudden you stand up and you say, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, they know that the prophecy, the spirit is coming upon you. And then he warned them. He said, they're going to put bands on you. That means they're going to arrest you. They're going to arrest you. They're going to bind you. Well, brothers and sisters, obviously, Daniel was arrested. The Messiah was arrested. The Apostle Shaul was arrested. Yochanan was arrested. Jeremiah was arrested. Right? Many prophets, holy people have been arrested. For breaking the law? No. For being prophets and teachers of the Most High. For bringing his truth, sometimes cause people to be arrested. Well then, it's not a stretch of our imagination for us to understand that there's coming a time where if we speak the truth of the Most High, we could be arrested. Yes? Y'all understand that? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Now, the Bible says if you are arrested for the word, That's not anything to be ashamed about. If you're arrested for the word, that's not anything to be ashamed about. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen because it's happened to prophets and holy men of the past. Okay. And so he told Ezekiel, they're gonna bind you, they're gonna put bands on you. So he said, I'm not just gonna send you out anytime. I'm just not gonna send you everywhere. Specific times and places I'll send you. Just like the Messiah. Remember, he would say sometimes, I'm not going here, my time is not yet come. I'm not gonna go there, my time is not yet come. Praise the Most High Yah. Just so in the 144,000, you're not going to hear them constantly. But here and there with power, you will hear them all over the earth. They're going to give the message. And it's going to be a powerful message because the Father's Spirit will be attending it. But they're not going to be all over the place all the time, speaking constantly. And the Most High now, at this time, as he's preparing us for that closing work that is going to take place on this planet, he's not preparing us in the open in terms of like people don't know who we are. We're just regular people, but they know something's different about us because of the Father's Spirit. But we're not going to be famous. It's not about that. Not about fame. So now he has prepared the prophet. He has told him what's going to happen to him. He has told him in what manner he's going to use him. He has warned him about giving the message. He has told him and warned him about the people to whom he's sending the message. Now, chapter 4, Ezekiel chapter 4. Going to begin at verse 1 down to verse 3. Thou also, son of man, take thee a tile and lay it before thee and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it and build a fort against it and cast a mount against it and set the camp also against it and set battering rams against it round about. Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city, and set thy face against it, and it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay siege against it. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel. So obviously, the city, he said it was Jerusalem. He said the sign is that it's going to have a siege laid against it. Now, eventually, as we're studying Ezekiel, we're going to come to a point in the book where a messenger will come from Jerusalem and let Ezekiel know that the city is destroyed. So here, the Most High is telling Ezekiel to warn the people the city's going to be destroyed. Now, Ezekiel wasn't the first prophet to give that message. Like Jeremiah, Isaiah, Moses, many prophets had given that message. It was in the Psalms that the city was going to be destroyed. Daniel, right? So Ezekiel is also adding his voice to that. Well, what about today? Well, we're not worried about the Jerusalem that's in the state of Israel today, because that's not the one we are going to inherit. But what is the Bible telling us today? It's telling us the whole Babylon system is going to be destroyed. Isn't that right? It said the kings of the earth and the merchants of the earth weeping and wailing because now everything is destroyed. It's telling us that, this whole culture and system is going to be overthrown. So in ancient times, he told the nation of Israel, your city's going to be destroyed. Here, he's telling us, the nation of Israel, the whole Babylonian culture, the whole system, its economic, political system, its religious, especially its religious system, is going to be overthrown and destroyed. And you know what's sad? Just as ancient Israelites would weep and wail about the destruction of the city, well, that was their city. And then you had others that prior to that destruction was not believing the prophet. So today, there are people that are going to weep and wail at the destruction of this culture. People that didn't even profit as much off of it as others. They're going to weep and wail at the destruction of this culture and of this system. Whereas the true Israelites are going to rejoice because we know that a new kingdom is coming to replace this. But there are people that are going to weep and wail. And the Bible shows us that merchants of the earth were weeping and wailing and casting dust on their heads, so upset because of the destruction. Now, I can understand the people that actually created this system and are profiting off it big time. Yeah, sure, they're going to weep and wail. But people that never even got to the pinnacle of success, that was just in it, weeping and wailing. That's why it says also that they will eat the flesh of kings and of princes, but also of the poor also. You know, because you're going to have people of all economic levels caught up in this Babylonian system. Don't get caught up in this system, brothers and sisters. So here, Ezekiel is being shown. He's a sign. He's telling the captives, your city's getting ready to be destroyed. Now, notice the next sign. Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 4 down to verse 7. Ezekiel 4 from 4 to 7. Notice what it said. Lay thou also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it. According to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity according to the number of the days, 390 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side. And thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thy arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. So you have 390 days, each day for a year. That's 390 years. Then you have 40 days, each day for a year. That's 40 years, a total of 430 years. So just to give some perspective on this situation, look at, let's see, it's First Kings chapter, let's see, First Kings chapter 6. Yeah. First Kings chapter 6. Yeah. First Kings chapter 6. Notice what it says. First Kings chapter 6, verse 1. First Kings chapter 6 and verse 1. Notice what it says here to show you how long our fathers were in the land. First Kings chapter 6 and verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Israel will come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of Yahweh. So notice what it says. When Solomon's 4th year as king was there, it had been 480 years since the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt. 480. Now think about that. So it was Solomon's 4th year. David reigned for 40 years. David reigned for 40 years. So then, of course, there were 40 years in the wilderness. And then Saul reigned as king. I don't know how long Saul reigned. I don't know if it was 20 years or 40 years, but Saul reigned as king. So you have to figure there's at least 100 years there. But it was 480 years from the time they left Egypt to when it was the 4th year of Solomon's reign. Then he's counting 430 years of the iniquity of Israel and Judah, which happened after Solomon's reign. So now you have that's at least 920 years from when they came out of Egypt and got the land. And then Jeremiah said that they would be captives after the city was destroyed for 70 years. The city was destroyed, they were 70 years captive. So you can see very easily. Then, of course, after that 70 years, they would rebuild the city and the temple, and they would stay there until the Romans destroyed them in 70 AD. So you can see easily the children of Israel were in the land for well over 1,000 years. Well over 1,000 years. Isn't that amazing? See, the United States of America is not, I don't think it's 250 years old yet. But our fathers were in the land for over 1,000 years. That's a long time. Isn't it amazing, though, that at the first resurrection, we're going to be reigning with the Messiah for 1,000 years? Isn't that amazing? So in the first resurrection, when the righteous are resurrected and the wicked are destroyed, and we're reigning with Messiah in the city, in the kingdom for 1,000 years. And our fathers anciently had reigned for over 1,000 years before they were destroyed and the land was taken away from us. So here Ezekiel is saying, this is the 430 years y'all been messing up, and I'm using you as a sign. And then and then what's going to happen is I'm going to lay siege against Jerusalem and destroy it. Praise the Most High. He's faithful, man. He is faithful. Our fathers were messing around for over 1,000 years, man, and he put up with that a long time before he cast us out. So now Ezekiel, let's look back. Ezekiel chapter 4. I'm going to begin again at verse 7. Watch this now. And I'm going to go down to verse 13. Ezekiel chapter 4 from verse 7 to verse 13. Notice what it says. Therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thine arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. And behold, I will lay bands upon thee, and thou shalt not turn thee from one side to another, till thou hast ended the days of thy siege. Take thou also unto thee wheat, and barley, and beans, and lentils, and millet, and fitches, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 390 days thou shalt eat thereof. And thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day. From time to time shalt thou eat it. Thou shalt drink also water by measure, the sixth part of an hin. From time to time shalt thou drink. And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt make it with dung that cometh out of a man in their sight. And Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Did you catch that? It sounded all good at first. You're going to make some bread. It's wholesome, wheat and barley, lentils, beans, millet, fitches. Put all that, make some bread. Make it like you would make barley bread. Sounds good. You're going to drink water with it. So for the 490 days that you're going to be on your side sleeping, you're going to eat this from time to time. Sounds good. Then at the end, he says, you're going to bake it with dung. That is man's dung. And you're going to eat it. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? He said, you're going to eat dung for 390 days. You're going to wash it down with water. The Most High commanded Ezekiel to do that. I want you to mix doo-doo with the batter for the bread and you eat it. Why? He said, because I'm going to send the children of Israel to eat defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Whoa. You see, brothers and sisters, we have recent history for this to understand what's going on. Because we have sinned, our fathers sinned against the Most High, and we were brought into slavery. While we were in slavery, see, when we were in Africa, we did not eat swine. Because even when the Muslims forced us to become part of their religion, when we were in West Africa, in Mali, and in Timbuktu, they did not eat swine. But when we came on that transatlantic slave trade, the masters would oftentimes treat the slaves like dogs. I mean, literally, just give them scraps. And the masters like to eat swine. So they would give the parts of the swine to the slaves that they didn't eat. Well, what did they give to the slaves to eat? Well, we call them chitlins. What are chitlins? Chitlins are the intestinal tract that has the doo-doo in it of the pig. That's where the pig's doo-doo comes through when he get ready to eliminate the chitlins. And they gave us that to eat. And they gave us the feet of the pig to eat. And the tail of the pig to eat. And that's why we eat chitlins and pig's feet. Because that's what we were given, because we was hungry, because we didn't have nothing else to eat. They wouldn't even let us eat of the fields which we was picking. They gave you the leftovers of what they didn't eat. And so we learned to make delicacies out of that. And to this day, people eat it. It's the defiled bread we've been eating among the Gentiles where we were captives. Now, as part of this awakening, I am noticing, I don't know if you're noticing, but I'm noticing more and more Hebrews are getting into health. They're getting into herbs. They're getting into vegetarianism, some veganism. They're getting into eating healthy stuff. Just in fact, a few months ago, when I came over my house and he rebuked me because I had all kind of chocolate in my house and candy and stuff. And I said, "You want some?" He said, "I don't eat that, man." He said, "I'm eating clean food. I'm eating clean food called the Most High showed me." And that was a rebuke to me. Set me on a path to get back to where I was supposed to be. Praise the Most High for it. But I'm noticing that the Hebrews now that are awakening are now starting to eat cleaner, eat more in line with what the Bible gave us to eat, because it's just a sign of the awakening that we're about to be delivered from this thing. But Ezekiel was showing the beginning of it. I'm going to send you into these nations and you're going to eat defiled bread. And he used man's dung. And we was eating pig's dung in the chitlins. Chitlins got pig's dung in it. And some of us learned to eat blood sausages, that is the blood of the animal, to cook it and eat it, and to eat liver. You're not supposed to eat no animal's liver. The Bible says you don't eat the liver. But people was eating that and showed us how to eat it. And now we got to the point where people will eat anything. I mean, swine is bad, but people will eat snakes and rats and anything. Octopus. We learned that when we're in our enemy's land. That's not what the Most High gave us people to eat, but that's what we learned to eat in our enemy's land. Yes. Now, Ezekiel, even he couldn't take that. Faithful as he was to the Most High, he couldn't deal with that. And so notice his answer, Ezekiel chapter 4. Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 14 and 15. Then said I, Most High Yahweh, behold, my soul has not been polluted, for from my youth up even until now have I not eaten of that which died of itself, or is torn in pieces, neither came there abominable flesh into my mouth. Then he said unto me, Lo, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung, and thou shalt prepare thy bread therewith. Ooh. He said, all right, I'm gonna let you put cow chips in there. I'm gonna let you put cow chips in there instead of man doo-doo. I'm gonna let you put cow chips in. Put cow chips in the bread and eat it, because that's what your people gonna eat, defiled bread, when they go into their enemies' lands. Verses 16 and 17. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, that they may want bread and water, and be astonished one with another, and consume away for their iniquity. Yes, brothers and sisters, what should we take away from this? We're in our positions in our enemy's land because of the iniquities of our fathers. The Most High wants to deliver us, and he said he will deliver us, but he is looking for us to turn from our sin and repent of our sin and the sins of our father. He's looking for us to be obedient to his covenant and to be seeking to give him the glory and the honor. He's looking for us now that he's awakening us to turn away from the abominable foods that we have been taught to eat. Turn away from the blood and from the swine and from the shrimp and from the rat. Don't eat the blood of the animal. Turn away from that. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Praise the Most High. And we are. I've noticed that people are awakening to these things. They're awakening to it. That's part of the awakening. We're awakening to the defiled bread that we've been eating. Let us continue to do that. And let us continue to do it ourselves and pray for our brothers and sisters. Praise the Most High. We're going to close here for today, and we'll start chapter 5 next week.